Deploying and updating desktop applications doesn't have to be hard. In fact, it can be downright easy. In this video, we're going to use a free tool to package up our WPF application, create an installer for it, and then create a way to update that application both manually and automatically. All of this will only take a few lines of configuration. And the best part is, this isn't about WPF. This could be WinForms, a console application. It doesn't even have to be a .NET application, or it could be a .NET framework application. It could be a Java application or other application, Rust if you want. This is a pretty agnostic installer tool, but we're going to focus in on deploying a .NET application. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Tim Corey. I'm a 25+ year veteran of software development and 9 times MVP for Microsoft. And it's my goal to make learning software development easier. This isn't about taking shortcuts or chasing the latest trends. It's about building a solid foundational knowledge of software development. My focus is not just to teach you what to do, but to teach you the context around it so you can know when to use the things you learn and how to use them well. If you like my training here on YouTube, I also offer paid training courses designed to give you even more in-depth training at IamTimCorey.com. I've designed each course to be an upgrade to your career. So I would encourage you to check them out, but also don't forget to subscribe. Okay, so let's jump right into Visual Studio. I'm still using the VS 2022. It doesn't matter if you're on .NET 10, VS 2026, that's fine as well. This will work just the same. We're going to create a project and we're going to create a WPF application. We're going to call this deploy demo and the deploy demo app. And we're going to create with .NET 9. Again, .NET 10 is great if you're there. That's fine. Use that. This won't be different in how it works. Okay, so we now have our application, started. And again, just to be clear, this is a WPF application, but it doesn't have to be. So you can do this with other tools. But the other thing we're going to do is we're going to open up the terminal and we're going to do a .NET tool install. Now, .NET tool install -G VPK. So this is for Velopack. This is the tool we're going to use. Again, it's free to use. So therefore, you can go ahead and just use it. You don't have to pay for it, pay a subscription. The -G here means globally install this tool. Now, I've already done that, but what this does, it puts on the command line, on your command prompt here, the ability to run VPK commands, which is important for packing up our application. This is kind of the one secret sauce step that takes our application from being just a published application to an application that has an installer and updater, etc. So that's the one line of code you have to run at the command line right now. We're going to come back to the command line because the command line really is a fast and powerful tool. This also means if you can run a command line like this, then you can automate it, which means you can put this right into your CI/CD process and have this run automatically. You can have it be part of your deployment process. So it's good to know the command line options for these things. Okay, so with that being done, now what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to our dependencies, manage NuGet packages, and we're going to install one package, which is Velopack. So Velopack, just install latest version. Yes, it's a newer package. It's been around for a while, though. It's been around for over a year. This is really the successor to the Squirrel installer. If you've used Squirrel before, I did a video on Squirrel. And in fact, if you already have a Squirrel install, there is automatic migrations if you're coming from things like Squirrel. So you can migrate your application over to Velopack from Squirrel as well. This is cross-platform, means it will install and work with Windows, OS X, and Linux. So language agnostic, C#, C++, JavaScript, Rust, and lots more. There's pretty much any language you want. Again, we're focusing on .NET here because that's what this channel is about, but it is a great tool for just creating installers. All right, now we're going to go over to app.xaml.cs. And in here, I'm going to add one line to our constructor. So I'm going to create constructor here. I'm going to add the Velopack app, which adds a using directive, .build, and then .run. Now, this is the simplest way to get started, just to put it in the constructor here. And this will initialize the Velopack system for doing updates. Now, that doesn't actually check for updates. We're going to do that as a separate step. But before we do that, let's set up our main app, because right now this doesn't look great. Let's go ahead and swap this over to just XAML, so we have a full screen here. And we're going to create so grid.row definitions, and we're going to keep it simple. So we're going to say row definition height is auto. And then one more, let's duplicate that. Control D duplicates, by the way. And we're going to do a star. And then we'll do something similar for columns, grid.column definitions. And then column definition with a width. And this one's going to be star. And again, duplicate that, but this one's going to be auto. So what this does, it just creates a grid for us to put things into in WPF. We're going to create auto means just use the space you need, and star means take up the rest of the space. So with that, we're going to now, and by the way, that doesn't really do anything visually for you yet. We're going to add some buttons. So I want to have a button that's going to sit in the upper right-hand corner. So we'll kind of call this, let's call it update button. And the content, which is what actually shows up on the button, we're going to say update. And then we're going to make sure that you put this in grid.row0 and grid.column1. And we're going to say horizontal alignment is right. And we're going to say vertical alignment is top. And we're going to put a margin on this of 10. Whoops. There we go. And padding of 10 and 5. And then we have the min width. Nope. Min width. There we go. Of 80. And that'll be it. So with that, we now have a button. Let's get the markup right. That looks right, though. Let's go back to our design. Hit save. What's the problem here? Content set more than once. That's interesting. I don't think it is. Oh, I know the problem. I put this in the wrong spot. I put it outside of the grid. We don't want that. Let's put it actually in the grid. So you get some weird errors when you are putting things in the wrong spot. So that was saying I had content set more than once, which I didn't, but it was actually the content of the window that was set more than once. We're setting it to grid and also button. So you gotta be careful where you put things in WPF. But now we have an update in the upper right-hand corner. Cool. Now you could say, well, I just drag and drop stuff. That's great, except for the fact it doesn't resize then well. And that's the whole point of having WPF, is that you have this flexibility like you do on the web. So I would encourage you to utilize that flexibility rather than ignoring it. Okay, now we're going to create a stack panel. And this stack panel is really simple here. Grid.row is 1, and grid.column is going to be 2. I'm sorry, column span. Column span of 2. And then horizontal alignment is center. And we're going to have a vertical alignment of center as well. We're going to put this right in the center. And inside the stack panel, we're going to have a text box. And we're going to give this a name of main text box. And we're going to have a height of 30 and a width of 300. And we're going to have a margin of 10 and horizontal alignment of center and a vertical alignment of center. And we're going to close that out. We're going to put one more thing in the stack panel, then we'll be done with XAML, which is great because all this typing is a lot. Button. We're going to give it a name of submit button. And content is going to be submit. And we're going to say width is 100, height is 35, and margin is 10. Horizontal alignment is center, and that's it. Now, if you don't want to do all that typing, you can go to properties and put this information in here, like content is submit, and you go to layout here and put the width and the height, and that will just put that text right on your XAML. So that works as well. But here's the finished design. So we've got a text box right there, and we have our submit button, and we're good to go. Okay. So with that, if we run this application, it should be that our WPF app just shows this. Okay. And in fact, that text box should be showing up differently. Let's make sure it's a text. I said text block and it should be box. There we go. That makes a difference. Now it shows up. Always test your things. So now it shows up. We can type in the text box. Great. So we're good to go. All right. We don't have to do anything else in here. If we don't want, we can leave it alone. And that's all we're going to do. So what we're going to do now is we're going to focus in on creating this update button. So you want to make sure this update button is in running as a very first thing in your application. That way, when you deploy your application and you make changes, you can actually see it update, right? Like I said, this line of code right here just initializes Velopack. It doesn't do anything with actually launching your updater. To do that, we're going to come in the code behind for this main window, and we're going to put in the update button click. So let's just double click the button, and that creates that button click. And what we're going to do is put our check. Now, we could break this apart into multiple steps, like checking to see if a new update is available, and then download the update and installing the update. Those could be 3 separate steps. In fact, you could have the check for update right in the constructor. That way, you could put a little, a 1 in a red circle or a U in a red circle or something like that says, hey, there's a new update. We're not going to do that. We're going to put it right in this button. We're going to do a check for it. We're going to do download the new version. We're going to update the new version all inside of this button. So var mgr for manager equals new update manager, and add that using directive. And you can put a URL here. Typically, this is like an HTTPS path here, but we're going to do things locally. So this would be like if you are working inside of an internal company application where you're not going out, publishing this to a web server. You're publishing this internally. It's going to do a file path to the updater. That's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to say @ and then this is for a string literal. So I'm going to say C:\temp/ and I think it calls deploy demo folder. So that's a folder it's going to look for. Okay. So actually I call it deploy demo server. So I got this little folder that I put out here. It's empty, but that's where the deployed stuff will go. We're going to put that there. Again, if it's a web server, it just points to your web server wherever you're going to put these files. So we're going to check for the new version. So var new version equals await. And notice it changed to async task here, which is great. Mgr dot check for updates async. So it's going to check for updates, and if the new version is null, then we're going to say, you know what? Let's do a message box.show and just say no new updates available. Or how about let's be more positive. You are on the latest version. How about that? So they'll give you an update, and then we're just going to say return. So if the new version is null, meaning it didn't find a new version, then just say, hey, you're in the new version already. Now, if we get past that, we're going to say await mgr.download updates async new version. So we're asking for that new version. So we've checked to see if it's a new version. If there is, we're downloading that new version. And then finally, this is where, again, these are 3 different steps. You could just stop here and say, hey, there's a new version. Go ahead and do the next step. Then you could say, hey, we've downloaded in the background. And then finally, you could say mgr.apply updates and restart new version. So this, again, can be 3 different steps, or in this case, I'm doing it as 1 step. Now, the reason I'm doing it as 1 step is because you're clicking the button saying, yeah, I want to do this. And that means you're not in the middle of another process, probably. You're not in the middle of filling out a form or doing other work. You really don't want to do this automatically and restart an application while the person's working. So you may want to, check for a new update, maybe even download the new update, but then say, hey, let me know when you're ready to restart this thing, when you want to update. Also known as apply updates and restart and apply updates and exit. There are 2 different options. You can have that just be like in Windows, where you say, hey, I want to apply Windows updates and restart, or I want to apply Windows updates and shut down. Same thing here. So that's it. That's all the code for all 3 steps. We're done. So this application is now ready to deploy version 1. Now, again, this submit button does nothing. That's intentional because I want to deploy it first, have it do nothing, and then I want to update it afterwards. Also note that you can't just click this update button when you're in debug mode because it hasn't been deployed. So you want to deploy it next. And how do we do that? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to first make sure everything's saved. I'm going to right click on my project and say open folder in File Explorer. And then here I'm going to right click and say open terminal. The reason I'm doing that is because then the terminal is in the right spot and I have this folder to keep an eye on. So we're going to kind of move things around here so I can see both, because we're going to add some folders here. The first thing we're going to do is publish our application. This is just a .NET publish. This has nothing to do with Velopack yet. We're going to publish a self-contained application, meaning it's going to bring along with it the version of .NET that it uses. That way, when you install that on another machine, you don't have to make sure, do they have the right version of .NET installed? It will just work just fine no matter where it's installed. Okay, so .NET publish, and then I'm going to say self-contained, self-contained, and then I'm going to say -R for Win6x64. I'm on a 64-bit version of a Windows machine. That's what I want to deploy this application as. And then I'm going to say the output is /publish. Let's make this a little bigger so you can see this one line. So this is the complete command. Because I'm in the CS proj directory of my application, it's going to figure out, okay, this is the directory that has one project file in it. I'm going to deploy that project. I'm going to make it self-contained. I'm going to build it for an x64 version of Windows, and I'll put it in the publish directory, which does not exist yet. We hit enter, and it's going to fail with one error. Awesome. Task main window.update button has the wrong return type. Sweet. So let's go back to our, let's move it off temporarily and go over to our window here, async, void. There we go. When it's an event, it should be async void, not async task. I should have made sure of that. So build works now. Let's clear the screen and try that again. And I'll bring over this folder. Notice there's that folder that just appeared, the publish folder. In that publish folder is a bunch of stuff, including way down here. We call this deploy demo, so it's actually up higher. We're going to find right here, deploy demo.exe. You can just run that. And in fact, if you just double click on it, then it's going to launch our application and cool, we can type in here. Don't hit the update button yet. So that's our deployed application, but that's our published application. It's not our deployed application. So now we need to publish it. And to do that, we're going to use our newly installed VPK command. VPK pack, and we're going to say pack ID. And we're going to say this is deploy demo. Now, this pack ID is going to be the unique identifier for your application. You might want to be more specific about how you name it, like putting your company name in there, etc. If you do change the pack ID, if you want to change the pack ID from the executable name, then you have to also add in the executable name in this command line. I'll give you the URL in the description of this video for Velopack for more information on that. The documentation is great. But we're going to keep the executable name the same as our pack ID. Therefore, we don't need to add the additional executable name parameter. So I'm going to say that the pack version is a 1.0.0. That's the current version. And then the pack directory is going to be that same dot/publish. Let's make this a little smaller actually now. So it's that dot/publish directory. And that's going to look in that directory for the packed up current application. Okay. So it's going to look in this publish directory for where to find the published executable that it's packing up called deploy demo. We're going to run that and it's going to build everything up. And once it does, notice we have its releases folder now. So now we're done. And in the releases folder, we have these files. I'm going to copy these files. I'm going to bring them over to my deploy demo server. These are now the files I would need for publishing my application. In fact, let's run the deploy demo-win-setup.exe. When we do, we get this really quick installer. It does it. But now our application is installed. If we click update, you're on the latest version. So that's cool. We have it in a desktop application or a desktop icon now. We have it in the programs, like the uninstall application section. It's in the start menu. It's everywhere. This is now an installed application. And this installs just like Squirrel does, or like some other, like almost like MSIX, but a little bit different, where it's self-contained. Okay, it's self-contained. It's not going to, you're not going to change where it installs. You're not going to be able to, modify something else in Windows because it really is a self-contained installation. It's installed on your profile. It's installed self-contained, so that when you uninstall it, it just deletes the folder. You're good. Okay, now let's update our application. Let's move this off. Let's move this off, and let's move this off. And now let's bring in some additional, changes to our application, which it's not getting much. In the submit button, I'm going to double click here. We're just going to say messagebox.show, and we're going to say string interpolation here, hello, and then in here, what do we call this? Main text box, or yep, main text box.text. And then that's it. So now when we run our application, wait for it to start, and we say Tim, then it says hello, Tim. Okay, not exactly a huge update, but it is an update. So what we would do is we would go ahead and run our publish command again and our pack command again. So let's clear the screen here. and we're going to run our publish, same command, wait for that to be done. Once it's done, then we will clear the screen again, and we're going to run that same pack command, except we're going to change the version here to 1.0.1. So a new version. Pack command runs. It's building the new release. We're done. Almost done. There we go. We're done. And now you'll notice that we have our let's zoom in here. We have our 1.0.0 nupcake file. That's kind of a NuGet package file. And we have our 1.0.1 delta file, meaning just the things that have changed. And then we have our 1.0.1 full file. What's the difference? Well, if you've got 1.0.0 installed, it's just going to use the delta. So it's going to take the delta and just use that to make the changes necessary. But if you are installing for the first time using this setup.exe, it's going to pull from the 1.0.1 full package to give you an installation at 1.0.1 because you don't need to install an old version to then update it. Okay, so and if we look at here at the file sizes, the full version is 63 megabytes. The delta is 132 kilobytes. So I'm going to copy all these things. You don't have to copy everything if you just do the changes, but I'm going to copy everything. It doesn't hurt. And there we go. I've put that now in our deploy demo server file location. So I'm going to update, I'm going to open my application. I'm going to say, test, submit, nothing happens. I hit update, and it's going to be quick. I don't know if I can show it to you. Oh, there you go. It was installing 1.0.1, and now it's back up, and we're in the latest version. If I were to say Tim, it says, hello, Tim. That's it. That's all we had to do to install our new update. We had to just pack up the update, and we had to create the VPK command line action to actually create those new change files. We put those in the right location and done. We're ready for our applications to be updated. So really simple to create a package system that creates a deployer for you where you can deploy your application, but then you can also have a way to update your application as you have new changes. So this makes desktop application maintenance a whole lot easier. You can do this internally using, again, just this like the file share or a local file path to something, or you can do this online where you have something at a Azure storage, file storage, or you can put it in a Azure web app or something else where you can say, hey, here's the location for the new changes. And then people can use your installer, they can install the application, they can update it whenever necessary. You can, put it in your application to check for updates, etc. But really is simple. When it comes down to what do you have to do in order to get this working? By the way, I'll include this source code down in the description. You can download this. And what I'll do is I'll put, let's put the command lines you need to do. Let's get rid of those. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to grab, the two command lines things I ran. You have to run the right location in your projects directory. But if we do, this is for publish, and then we'll do the next one, which is for packaging. So I'll grab that, and you have to change your information, like your pack ID would have to be changed. And then the last one, I'll go back and find that. Actually, you know what? I don't know if I actually ran it. I didn't run it. So let's grab it. I have it in my notes. This is the installer for actually installing that global tool. You do once, just once, and then you're done. But these two commands for publishing it and then packaging it, you have to have this in some iteration, some form in your application for checking for updates. You have to have this one line here for initializing it, and you have to have the NuGet package. That's it. That's all you need in order to get Velopack to install your application and update your application. It's all taken care of for you. And again, if I were to find this in my system, let me just real quick go to the uninstall, and we're going to search for lots of stuff installed on my machine, right? Deploy. So deploy demo right here. So 349 megabytes. That's a lot, but the reason it's a lot is because of the fact it's bringing with it all of .NET 9. So, or all of .NET 9. It did not do any tree shaking or anything else to shrink that down. You could. But notice that it is version 1.0.1 right now. So it's tracking which version it is. But I can do the uninstall, and then you just get this message. It was uninstalled. Done. That's it. So making an installer for your application, super easy. Again, this works for WinForms as well. This works for even Uno or other project types. There's a lot of different types out there that work for inside of .NET. It works in .NET Framework, so you can go back to .NET Framework 4.6.2, I believe. And you can also do it for other language types like Rust or JavaScript or others, and have installers for those as well. So it really is a great tool for very quickly creating publishers for your applications. Okay, again, source code for this, including these commands right here. So you can just copy and paste them. Again, modify this and the version number. But this will all be in the description of the YouTube video. Just click that and we'll give you a link to, it'll email you a link to download this. We changed from emailing the actual source code to email a link. That way you don't have any trouble with getting caught in spam filters or less. So with that, thanks for watching. And as always, I am Tim Corey.